Welcome to the MMA Fan Podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you Stu and Blake.
Hello and welcome to the MMA Fan Podcast. I'm Stu with you. Joining me always, Blake Harrison. Bright and breezy on a very early Monday morning. How are you?
Yeah, I'm all right, mate. I'm all right. Where I normally record is getting decorated now, so my house is a complete mess, and I'm in the living room. So hopefully the sound is not going to be too horrendous. It's going to be okay.
See, I understand that, like, if you look at me, like, I'm a man's man, whereas you're an actor. Do you know what I mean? You're all about the arts, and like, I see. You mentioned beforehand that the decorators had come in and you wanted to have some like nice wallpaper, and you bought one roll.
So I said this to you in confidence while we weren't recording. Now you're just like, well, keep that to myself, straight away. Right? So I bought one roll, thinking, oh, that'll do. That's a roll, isn't it? All the rolls cover a wall. That's how that works. Right. One roll equals one wall. That's how that works.
Oh, right.
And but apparently not. Apparently I should have got two. And the guys here doing it now, and it's like, well, I can't really do much with this. And I'm like, yep, sorry, I can't really go and sort this out either because I'm recording with Stu and then I'm doing something else. So,
oh dear.
It's a problem.
I also wanted to talk about what you've been up to. I mean, my life's very, very dull. But you was looking very handsome the other night, mate. All done up, weren't you?
Stop it, babes. Stop it. It was at the Vanity Fair BAFTA EE Rising Star party thing. Nice. It was very nice. It was very good.
Caught up with your old mate, didn't you?
Caught up with my old mate Emily Atack, which was lovely, as well as a few others as well. That's the thing. I used to go to those events, and it's so funny because I used to go to those events and just be like, I don't know what I'm doing here. Like, I don't know anyone. It's
what
awkward.
Are you meant to do with them things? What is the rules?
I mean, they're still slightly awkward, but the reason I find them a little bit better now is because I'm getting old, and so I've worked with people. So I'll go, hey, I haven't worked with you for 7 years. How have you been in the last 7 years? Because that's how our industry works: is you work with each other in these really intense pockets of time. Get to know each other really well, and then don't see each other again until you bump into each other. Like, that's just how the acting industry seems to work majority of the time. So there was someone I hadn't seen for 7 years. Then there was Ashley Roberts, former Pussycat Doll, who I did Waitress with about 3.5 years ago. Chat to her. And Emily Atack I hadn't seen for a while. So
Emily's recent TV show as well. What an incredible bit of television that is.
That really was good. I can't remember the actual name of the show, but obviously it deals with all of the just awful, horrendous messages that she gets sent on a daily basis. It can be dick pics, or it can be very graphic. People graphically telling her what they want to do to her, and I just don't get. I don't understand it. Like, why? There's never been a time in my life where I thought, oh, this person that I've never met and don't know, but I can contact them on like social media. I want to tell them all sorts of horrible stuff I want to do to them. It's just. I don't understand the logic. Like, what are you? I don't understand what you're gaining from it, really. But
that show horrendous. Kind of it comes from that angle, really. It's like, why? Like, why would you do this? And it's a powerful bit of television, and she's and props to Emily Atack for doing that, because she's so honest and open about it, and with her mum as well, and that's got to be an awkward situation to to enter into, and props. 100%. I thought it was a really as having teenage daughters and stuff. It really kind of you think you're a man of the world, and you think all these things that go on, and I watched that and I was like, holy shit. Like, that's brutal, but so I definitely recommend watching that. But mate, you looked very, very cool.
Well, thank you very much, sir. Thank you, I appreciate that. What have you been up to? What's been going on in your life?
Went and watched a musical yesterday.
Oh yeah, what was that?
I went and watched the Tina Turner musical yesterday.
Can we just remind people you are listening to the MMA Fan Podcast? We've been talking about documentary, going to some flashy event, and now the Tina Turner musical. What the fuck is going on?
I don't know. It was good, but I guess to kind of pull it back on track a little bit. There's been loads going on, and obviously today we're going to be talking about everything that's going to be coming your way at UFC 284. But I think we can't not, any mention of the word UFC and the words Conor McGregor gets brought up. And on the last show, we was talking about the rumours of him being part of the new series at Tough, and we was going through who we'd like to see as team captains. Michael Chandler was obviously one of those in the mix. Me and you both said we'd prefer to see Tony Ferguson, but it's come to light last week that it's going to be Conor and it's going to be Michael Chandler.
Yeah. I think maybe it's the right choice. I don't know. I still think I would have liked seeing Tony just because I want to see, in my head, I really want to see Conor in a really competitive fight when he comes back. And I worry that Chandler might be a bit much for him. Having said that, I think it'd be a decent build-up, and I think it will be, for however long it lasts, a really fun fight. Because if Chandler's smart, he will try and wrestle early, a bit like Poirier did in the McGregor-Poirier 2 fight. I think he wrestled early, tired Conor out a little bit, and then was able to box him up. And that's what I think Chandler should do. But Chandler, since he's joined the UFC, he's not about what he should do. He's about, let me just do these fun, wacky, crazy fights for the fans. Let me bang, bro. I mean, he did a little bit of it in his Poirier fight, not that it helped him too much. But that's what I think the smart plan would be. But the thing is that I can just see him coming out, swanging and banging, and Conor maybe landing a good left hand or something like that, and it makes the fight really interesting.
He's a sniper. He will pick him off if that happens. There's a big chance of that. But we don't know what's coming back from Conor McGregor, do we?
We don't know what Conor's coming back. He's also, the other thing is, Conor's not even in the USADA testing pool yet.
Got to get moving on that, really, hasn't he?
He's probably got to get moving. I mean, the size of his neck would dictate that he probably doesn't want to do a test for a little while. So I don't know what's going on there. But yeah, so I think the show shoots from kind of May till August. So I don't think it will come out until maybe for quite a while. I think it won't be out till towards the end of the year, maybe. And then, or does it shoot then, or does it air then? Maybe it airs then. I'm not sure. But either way, I don't think we'll actually see McGregor Chandler for a while. And there's usually a New York card, a Madison Square Garden card, usually in November. And then they do a massive card kind of usually in like late December towards New Year's Eve. I reckon they'll be going for one of those as the card that they're actually fighting on, but who knows?
So do you think we're not going to see Michael Chandler this year until that fight?
100%.
Wow.
100%. He's not going to risk fighting anyone else. It's like, this is the money fight. And good on Michael Chandler. Like, I think Chandler's a really great guy. We've seen how he's dealt well with losses. He does those funny things with the ice pack, and he talks to his kids and all that stuff. And then he's got 2 adopted kids as well. And I think, I asked him that question at, was it the UFC London was it in July? I think it was. And he gave such a wonderful answer about just, the lack of balance that there is between when you're trying to be the best dad you can be, but also being an elite level athlete, and you have to just accept the fact that there is no balance, and you just do what's right in the moment. And I felt like that was a really great thing. And I think there's probably a lot of parents listening to this show that would go, I'm trying to achieve my goals or do my career, earn enough money, all that kind of stuff. But also I want to be the best parent I can be. And sometimes, you struggle, you've got work to do and things to do to make life better for your family overall, but your kid's there going, mummy or daddy, play with me, do this, do that. And you're like, oh, I feel guilty because I'm not, but I'm doing this. And I'm also doing it for you. And I think his answer, which is on our socials, I think you can check that out. it was really inspiring. And just, don't put that pressure on yourself. There is no balance. You just do what's right in the moment, and you at different times is the right thing. But I mean, what a time he's had in the UFC.
Yeah.
I mean, go on.
What I love about him is it doesn't matter if he loses, because everybody's just like, and I'm talking not the kind of fight, I'm talking in general, because he's got some losses, but oh my God, like he's just one of them, if not the most exciting fighter in the UFC. Like, who's more exciting to watch?
Probably Gaethje.
Yeah, but very, very similar styles.
He's up there. Like,
yeah. But they're both got that. Let's have some fireworks, and they're all prepared to eat one to get one off. And I think that's like, it's probably not. We've seen Gaethje, I guess, be a little bit more measured now. I think experiences, but when he come into the UFC, much like Michael Chandler, it was like, right, we ain't taking a backward step. We are throwing, and win or lose.
Do you know what? To his credit as well, Conor. Like, I know there's a lot of negative things you can say about Conor,
Never in a boring fight.
particularly outside of the cage. It's all well documented, but you put him in the cage, and it's kind of a get or get got type situation with Conor. He's going for the knockout, but as we've seen with the Poirier fight, I mean, it was bad luck with that last one with the bad broken leg and everything. But he goes to finish fights, and sometimes he gets finished, and so you're hard pushed to find a more exciting fighter than Conor McGregor as well. So I think that fight does not see a third round. I think you don't get to the end of round 2 in that fight. One of them's getting knocked out.
We presume it's going to be 3 or 5.
Oh, it'll be a 5-round fight. It'll be a headline of a pay-per-view. But I don't think you're going to even need 3 rounds. I think 2 rounds is all you need with these two. And I would lean Michael Chandler just because we don't know what Conor's coming back. But God, if Conor wins and beats Michael Chandler, I'm not actually looking at the rankings or anything yet. I don't know where Chandler's ranked, but he's got to be in the top 10.
Oh, yeah.
Conor gets a win against Chandler.
Oh, of course he gets the shot. Of course he does. 100%. 100%.
These things happen, but yeah, Chandler has smashed it. Chandler might have the best kind of like journey into the UFC that we've ever seen. Like, the fact that he's just come in, he was a stand-in to fight for a belt, I think, initially. Then he fought, was it Dan Hooker in his first fight, knocked him out. Then he fought Oliveira, so close to winning the belt, so close. And then Oliveira came back. Then he's fought, and both those fights very exciting. Then Gaethje was a really exciting fight. Poirier was a really exciting fight. Tony Ferguson, he got like one of the knockouts of the year that year with that front kick.
One of the best knockouts ever.
It was crazy. And now he's getting the red panty night against Conor. I mean, you couldn't have planned it much better. I know he probably would have been like, I would have liked to have won a bit more than I've lost and stuff. But
was Dan Hooker his first fight?
Much better. I think so. In the UFC, yeah. And he's come over as like a champion, a former champion in Bellator in his like mid-ish 30s. What a run. Unbelievable
absolutely.
Run.
And you're gonna get the payday.
Going to get that payday, and then he can do what he wants. After that fight, if he wins, maybe he can call for a title shot just after beating Conor because he's going to be such a big name. I don't know. Again, meritocracy out the window when you talk about Conor McGregor and stuff like that. But yeah, if he wants to retire after that payday, God, I wouldn't blame him at all.
Absolutely, absolutely. Speaking of retirement, you touched on Bellator. There, saw Fedor retire at the weekend.
Yeah.
Did you see the footage of when he was in the ring? Who they brought in?
No, but I knew who was around. I haven't actually watched it. I'm not going to lie, but I knew that they had people like Randy Couture and Dan Henderson and Chuck Liddell all kind of like watching.
Yeah, Rampage. Oh God, like literally, Gracie. Like, there was so many legends in there. It was like, holy shit! Where is, like, literally, it was a who's who, and what an incredible end to a career of an absolute legend that unfortunately we never got to see, in with them UFC gloves on, which would have been a very exciting prospect. But all done and dusted. But what an absolute ledge. But yeah, so going back to Tough, as we mentioned, if you didn't listen to the last show, we was chatting a little bit about Tough and how, for me, I think the excitement around it and it's not there for me anymore. I got a little bored of it. A few of the seasons just didn't really pull me in. And I know that you've sort of persevered a bit more, Blake, but I think this, if you want to start, rebranding that show and, getting an audience back, well, you've just hit the jackpot, haven't you? Because who could you put in that house that's going to be more interesting than Conor McGregor? No one. Like, no. And
the thing is, even if he's not interested in it, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
If Conor comes in there like the Conor that he was in the second Dustin Poirier fight in the lead up to that, or the Donald Cerrone fight, where he's very respectful, very nice. Michael Chandler's going to be respectful. We spoke very highly of Conor ever since he's entered the UFC. Even if it's not that interesting and they're actually getting on okay and it's actually kind of dull, people will still watch the hell out of it because it's Conor McGregor.
Conor McGregor posts a picture of himself holding a knife and fork looking at his watch and it'll get like 1 million likes. It's ridiculous. Yeah. So, the fact that we're going to actually get to see him, a fly on the wall sort of season of a documentary season following him and exciting young fighters that are going to be, testosterone through the years. It's going to be, he's going to have fireworks, and the production company and the people at Tough are not stupid. They're going to definitely ensure that there's things there that are going to be implemented to make sure that it's not a bore fest. Do you know what I mean?
You would hope. You would hope so.
Absolutely.
So, yeah. Shall we move on to the reason that we were initially going to do this episode, which is UFC 284?
Yes.
How do you feel about the card itself? Because to me, this feels like a boxing card. It feels like I'm super excited about the main event. Mm-hmm. The co-main, sure. And then the rest of the card, I'm like, there's one fight on the card that I'm sort of looking forward to because I'm a fan of both fighters, but it's not like really getting the blood pumping type thing. It feels like a boxing card to me. Like a lot of people could be watching this just waiting for the main event. How do you feel about the card overall?
I completely agree with you. Completely. It's like, I was sort of looking at prepping today, and it was like, okay, so let's have okay, and then you just keep moving down, and it's even when it gets to like we've got obviously Volk, and then we've got Yair as the co-main, or I suppose, is it co-main? Maybe.
Yeah, the co-main would be Emmett and Yair.
Yeah. And then it just moves down to fights that are, they're pretty good, but they're not. Just looking down the card, there's nobody else in the top 10 on that card. And when you think of the gravitas of what we're going to see for the main event, it's quite weird. But then I guess they're just showcasing a lot of Australian fighters. The card's in Perth. We should bring, we should make a point of that. And when you look at, but even when just looking at the London card, is that the same? But we're just more passionate because it's all the UK fighters on there. Are Australians as excited?
The reason I would say the London card was better, like the previous London cards. I can't see exactly who's on the upcoming London card, but this is a pay-per-view, and those other cards were just fight night cards. Those fights had two huge heavyweights in Aspinall and Blades that could be fighting for belts, both of them one day, very, very soon as well. Obviously, the fight didn't go the way we wanted. Tom hurt his knee. But then you've got superstar like Paddy Pimblett, his partner in crime in Molly McCann, who people also really love. I'm trying to think of who else was on those cards. But then you've got people that hardcores will know that people like Jack Shaw, for example, are really good fighters.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to think off the top of my head now. Ilia Topuria was on that card. He's going to fight for a belt one day, I think. So Yeah, I don't know. I do think that those cards were maybe overall slightly better. I know that Makachev Volk carries the burden of this card massively, but because even the co-main shouldn't really be an interim belt, which we'll get onto when we talk about the lack of Arnold Allen in that fight. But I'm also looking ahead to UFC 285, the pay-per-view that comes after 284. John Jones, Cyril Gane. Valentina Shevchenko defending her belt against Alexa Grasso. Jalen Turner, Dan Hooker. That's going to be a great fight. Jeff Neal, Shavkat Rakhmonov. Great fight. Bo Nichols on the card. He's one of the, if not the most highly touted prospect in the UFC or in all of MMA at the moment. Derek Brunson, Dricus du Plessis. For those of us that are British and Irish, Ian Gary's on the card as well. Like Cody Garbrandt's on the card.
Who's Garbrandt fighting?
Garbrandt is fighting Julio Arce. And then you've got Viviana Araujo versus Amanda Hebas. That's ranked flyweight fight. I mean, I know that like there's just a lot more on that card. I go, oh my God, Shavkat's fighting. Dricus du Plessis versus Derek Brunson. That's 10 against 5. Brunson's ranked 5th. Bo Nickel, as I said, like you've got fights on that card that you go, wow. And then on top of it all, you've got the return of John Jones versus Cyril Gane.
Yeah.
What a card!
And you're right. It's like a boxing card. It's a pay-per-view, and you basically
this one.
You're paying for this purely for Makachev Volk.
Yeah, like, that's how it feels.
Taking nothing away from Yair and Josh Emmett, but if you're going to pay, you're not paying for anything other than that. Yair and Josh will be a great fight, but I don't know. I think they could have loaded that card a little bit heavier. I think.
I think they could have done and they should have done, but this is where we're at. But let's try and get positive now then, because we've had our little moan about the card as overall as a whole.
Yeah.
And let's focus on the fact that I can't remember the last time, if this has ever happened, I'm not sure. The number 1 pound for pound in the world is taking on the number 2 pound for pound in the world. I mean, that is something to get excited about.
Yeah, boy.
Volk hasn't been beaten for 10 years, which is an amazing run. That's a huge stat. That means a hell of a lot. But has he ever in those 10 years fought anyone like Islam Makhachev? And I went through his kind of like the Tapology page and all that stuff and just looking at it. And there's no one. There is no one with the wrestling
the other way around.
I think it does a little bit, but not to the same extent. Has Makhachev seen someone that's as good an all-rounder as Volk? Probably not. But has he seen... No, all right, definitely not. But has he seen good strikers? Yeah, probably. Has he seen people with good cardio? Yes. Has he seen people with good takedown defense? Yes. I think Volk is the one that has to make up the most ground during this training camp in terms of going, well, Makhachev has a superpower, which is his takedowns and his grappling. Like that is the superpower that we need to find the kryptonite for. And you need to find that kryptonite in just a matter of weeks or whatever it is, a couple of months.
Are you overplaying this?
I don't think so. I think that what would Volk's superpower be? He's just a great all-rounder. He's absolutely fantastic. He does have phenomenal striking and fantastic cardio. But does that beat what Makhachev's ability is? I don't know. Go on.
I think Volk was he the Australian wrestling champ? And I think it's probably safe to say that Australian wrestling, and I'm generalising, he's probably not at the level that what we see coming from Dagestan.
I think you can take the probably out.
Right. Okay.
There's levels to this. And look, is Volk a good wrestler? 100% he's a good wrestler. Is he a Dagestani combat Sambo champion Islam Makhachev level wrestler? Not to mention the fact that he's going to be much smaller than him? No. And look, I'm cheering Volk on. Don't get it twisted. Volk. Former guest of the show is Arna Volkanovski. Please go and check out that episode. I want Volk to win. I think Volk is a top bloke I think he's got phenomenal skills. His last performance against Max Holloway was extraordinary. And I really, really, really want him to win. But if I look at this objectively, the favorite is going to be Islam Makhachev. And that is going to be because of the size and what I think will be a large grappling advantage.
I mean, we've seen Alexander Volkanovski with arms around his neck by some of the greatest tacticians in the sport, and twice with Ortega, and Ortega's somebody you don't want on your back, right? And we saw remarkable fucking stuff from him, which I think I'm not buying into this, like Makhachev's this like got this superpower and he's unbeatable. But he's beatable. Of course, he's a human being, and I'm not getting caught up in this. Like, no one's going to beat him. Like, how do you see? You spoke about how good Volk was against Max. If it was Max versus Islam, how would you see that?
Islam would smush him easier than he would smush Volk.
Wow.
Because the other thing with Volk being smaller means that I think if it gets to the ground, he's going to have such a tough time getting up to his feet. But I hope he does it. But I think the sprawls and stuff, because he's smaller, Max would get taken down way easier because he's taller. And he's not going to be like Max has got great takedown defense, but he's not got takedown defense against this level of wrestling. I don't think.
But you're viewing this fight that in a kind of viewpoint that everybody's on the back foot, just trying to avoid being taken down by Islam Makhachev. It's like, hang on a minute, Volkanovski's got a lot to offer, and he's Islam Makhachev, but he's still going to be mindful. Yeah, but it doesn't matter. He's got heavy hands. He's got, as you said, the cardio.
He doesn't have heavy hands, really.
I'm telling you, mate.
Who does he knock out? All right, when was the last time Volk knocked someone out?
Fair point.
So and he's fighting featherweights. Islam is not a featherweight. He's a lightweight. And again, I'm saying all this because I'm trying to be as objective as possible. But my heart wants Volk. All day long, my heart
How do you see
Volk.
If Volk wins? How does he win?
If Volk wins, how does he win? Volk is somehow. I think Volk. If Volk were to win, I think. That's what I'm saying. I'm struggling because I don't think he's got that one-shot knockout power. I think to beat Islam, you need to be someone with that one-shot knockout power and just land it. There's an element of luck to it. But in terms of someone like Volk, I think it would have to be a decision win. Volk would have to show a level of takedown defense and ability to get to his feet that we've never seen before. That's what I think we'd have to get from Volk. And what that does is it tires Makhachev out. And maybe even if Volk loses the first 2 rounds because Makhachev's all over him, but Volk is just wearing him out by getting back to his feet or something, I don't know. And because Volk's probably got way better cardio than Makhachev. So if Volk can be surviving into the 3rd round and Makhachev's like, Jesus, I've burnt my arms out going for that guillotine or that rear naked choke and he didn't tap and I'm really tired now. All of a sudden we could see Volk go, oh, your takedowns are getting sloppy. I can sprawl way easier, keep this on the feet, and then I can dance around you, use my speed, use that movement and start picking you apart on the feet. And then I can win the last 3 rounds on points by doing that. But to do that is going to be so tough. I can see Islam dominating and just kind of being on top of him throughout large portions of this fight. And we all know Volk.
It's so boring. Like, who wants that in a champ? It's boring. Like, you want to see Volk Max. You want to see fights like that. You want to see Volk Ortega. You don't want to see this. It bores me. It really bores me, mate. Like, just watching like Makhachev, I just don't find it exciting. And I understand it's so effective, but it doesn't make it exciting.
I agree to a point.
And also look at
I think if we were more versed in the grappling and knowledge of it, we'd probably find it more exciting and more interesting.
It's not grappling, though, it's MMA. And I'm sure it is the elite level in grappling.
Yeah.
But I find it boring. It's just me. I'm sure loads of people love it. But
I tell you what, I've got newfound respect for anyone that's caught in a guillotine, particularly when Volkanovski was caught in Brian Ortega's guillotine. Because I've been doing a few MMA sessions recently, and we were doing guillotine escapes.
Yeah.
And oh my God, I felt like I need to see a chiropractor the day afterwards. My neck was absolutely killing me because I'm training with a guy that's like, he's probably about 5'8", 5'9", but he is like the complete opposite body type to me. Everything is muscular.
Yeah.
Like he's got, like, we're nicknaming him T-Rex because he's just like absolutely stacked, but like short. And the width of his arms are huge. But it's like the complete opposite body type to me. And my scrawny little neck with his biceps around it, I'm just like, oh my God, this hurts so much. And I'm trying to like turn my head in, get the thing, pop my head out, push it away. And it's just absolutely wrecking my neck. And I'm thinking to myself, how the fuck did Volkanovski stay in Brian Ortega's guillotine for that long and just not tap? It's unbelievable.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Because he is incredible, and he will get the win on Saturday, 100%.
So you're going for Volk?
Yeah, completely. Like, he's going to beat him, and I think I just look at the experience that that Makhachev's had. Right? Yes, he got a very impressive win over Oliveira. Right?
Yeah.
Before that, Bobby Green. Right? Yeah, ground and pound, round one.
Mm-hmm.
Bobby Green. We love Bobby Green, but he's not an Alexander Volkanovski. A win over Dan Hooker, again, former guest of the show. Dan Hooker, lovely dude. Dan Hooker is not a Volkanovski by any means.
No.
And the rest of the people, Drew Dober, Thiago, and that, these aren't the level of competition. Apart from Charles Oliveira, I don't think Makhachev fought anybody anybody close to what Volk's got. Yes, it's a different way. But when you look at the experience of 5-round fights that Volk's had against competition like, Max twice, Jose, like just fucking legends. Like,
yes, you're right on the level of competition. But what about stylistically, he's never fought anyone like Makhachev.
Do you know what? I've just pulled up a picture of Volk. He doesn't look small.
You know what I mean? And look, if you've watched the countdown episode that they did, they're really trying to play off the fact that the size is not going to matter, because Volk used to play prop in rugby league where all the big boys were, and you see him smashing through all these massive guys and training. Even he's had fights at middleweight before in his early career and stuff like that. So I get it, but I just think it's the stylistic nature. Like, could Volk fight a Michael Chandler, or fight a Dustin Poirier, or fight anyone else in that kind of division and still do well? Absolutely, because he's so good. He's the pound for pound number one in the world at the moment. But that Dagestani grappling and wrestling, I just don't think anyone's got an answer to it at the moment. And that's how I see that fight going. But the thing is, Volk's kind of got nothing to lose. If Volk wins, he's an absolute hero, and people will start saying, this guy's got to be seen as one of the best to ever do it. Because to go up and beat Islam when everyone's saying like what I'm saying about Islam now, that would be unbelievable. And he's got to be one of the best in the world if that happens. But if he loses, he goes back to being the featherweight champion, and he gets to fight the winner of the next fight coming up, Yair Rodriguez and Josh Emmett. And I can't see either of those guys troubling Volkanovski.
No chance.
So, as far as I'm concerned, he's got nothing to lose. If he wins, he's an absolute hero. If he loses, people go, well, yeah, mate, it's a weight above, and it's Islam Makhachev. You lose your number 1 pound for pound in the world status, but he's still probably number 2 pound for pound in the world. He's got the weight on you. It's stylistic. Go back to featherweight and smash it down there like you always have been. And I think he will continue to do that for a little bit.
You keep saying things like, yeah, but it's Islam Makhachev. And it's like, I don't think Makhachev's done enough to solidify that kind of prestige yet. Yes, he's the champ. Yes, he's done nothing wrong yet. But I don't think people should be talking about him like that. Well, yeah, but he's Islam Makhachev. It's like, well let's see him like defend his belt against like everybody that he needs to in that division. And then all of a sudden we can start throwing the kind of praise on him that people like Alexander Volkanovski have earned. Like, yeah, I'm not having this untouchable, unbeatable thing yet. I don't think he's done enough to prove that.
No. Well, the one interesting thing is that Khabib's not going to be in his corner.
Yeah.
Khabib has kind of said he's not going to like coach and do stuff anymore. So Islam is going to be in his first fight without Khabib in his corner, which I can't imagine actually going to make any blind bit of difference. But maybe it will. You never know.
I don't know. I mean, I think it's an interesting thing, isn't it? When they seem like the Dagestani wrestling gang. They look like a tight little unit, don't they? And I think if you're getting in the octagon and opposite you he's Makhachev, and then literally leaning over his head is Khabib, it's like, fuck's sake, like it's got to be a little intimidating. But
it's probably be nicer for Volk than problematic for Islam, I'd guess. But Volk's featherweight title defense will come against the winner of the interim featherweight title fight on this card, Yair Rodriguez versus Josh Emmett.
Versus who?
Thoughts and feelings. Josh Emmett.
Who?
A former guest of the show. Jesus Christ. Josh Emmett. Please go and check out our episode. A former guest of the show, Josh Emmett.
On.
That was actually great, though. He told us about saving a guy's life. And
absolutely.
Yeah, it was. I really like Josh. Yeah. That's again. Heart is saying I really want Josh to win this fight, and I think he could do. But what are your thoughts and feelings on the fight in general?
It's a great fight. It's not the fight we want. Arnold Allen should be very much part of this interim situation. And could we just sort of segue into that quickly? Because since we last spoke, we're still trying to rearrange a chat with Arnold actually, but it's been announced that he's fighting Max Holloway, and so what does this do? Because I think this is what would you think would have been better for Arnold Allen to fight for the interim against Yair or Josh on the undercard of this? Or do you think Arnold Max, I mean, is that a headline fight? It's got to be.
It is, but it's still better to do the interim because you get a belt around your waist, and then you're fighting the champ.
Okay.
This is that's why I've never been a fan of this fight. As in a microcosm, I don't know.
Chasm.
I'm not trusting you. You were the one that said choking at the bit a few episodes ago or whatever. As a spectacle in its own little world, Max Holloway versus Arnold Allen is an absolutely cracking fight. We're going to get something really, really special. It's going to be brilliant. It's going to headline a fight night in April. Fantastic. Well done. But the kind of long-term thinking and the overall picture of that fight is you're taking a guy on a 10-fight win streak and putting him up against a guy that is seen to everyone as the second best in that division, probably by a long way.
Yeah.
And that second best in the division will not be fighting for the belt again, whilst Alexander Volkanovski is the champion, because he's lost to him 3 times.
Mm-hmm.
So what is the frigging point of this fight? All you're doing is potentially derailing a guy that should have fought for the belt freaking ages ago. Right. And then you set up Josh Emmett and Yair Rodriguez. And I'll get into Yair Rodriguez's record in a minute. And don't get me wrong, Yair is an exceptional fun fighter. But does he deserve to fight for the belt with 3-2-1 record in his last 6 fights over Arnold Allen, who's on a 10-fight win streak? Absolutely not. It's absolutely ridiculous. Josh Emmett, also not on as big a win streak as Arnold Allen. Has he fought maybe slightly bigger names and won? Yeah, maybe. But Arnold Allen still deserves it over him as well. It should, in my opinion, it should be Josh Emmett against Arnold Allen.
Right, so
but there you go.
Do you think Josh versus Arnold are two ultimately quiet men of the division? Do you think that they didn't think that was a sellable fight? That the fact that they're both quiet guys and they both don't really,
it doesn't matter. It's a co-main. It doesn't matter. It's got a belt.
I'm just trying to think.
It's two big fights, and it's headlined by Makhachev Volkanovski.
I don't understand the thinking behind making that fight. That's all. It makes no sense to me. And I mean,
well, I think they like Yair because he's fun. He's got a good highlight reel. He's fun. He's got that ridiculous, like one of my favorite KOs of all time against Korean Zombie. He's got flashy KOs. He's an Ultimate Fighter alumni. All of those things that go in your favor with this stuff. But I mean, his last win was when Ortega got his dodgy shoulder injury. And I know Arnold Allen's last win was when Kattar got his bad knee injury, but he was on a 9-fight win streak when he got that. So, like, Ortega hurting his shoulder, that's his last fight. Before that, he lost to Max Holloway, Yair Rodriguez. Then before that, he beat Jeremy Stevens. And he beat Zombie in that fight I mentioned, which he was losing until the final second of the fight where he threw that amazing upward elbow.
Yeah.
But he was losing that fight to Korean Zombie. And before that, he lost to Frankie Edgar. It's not like he's active either. I mean, people complain about Arnold Allen's not active. He only fights once a year. Yair Rodriguez only fights once a year. It's like, it really, it's wound me up.
Well, like, I know when we spoke about what we thought was next for Arnold, before we knew that the Max thing was going to happen, we did speculate about that. We thought maybe like the Korean Zombie's name being thrown around in the mix quite a lot, and you had a worry that they were going to offer him to Poirier, which is, and because we know that Arnold seems to just be this. I mean, he doesn't seem, he's a really lovely fella, but he seems to be somebody that's, I'll fight whoever they, offer me. And we've seen that with him. We've seen that with Dariush. And I think it's good that he's going to get this fight with Max. And I think the world is going to know who Arnold Allen is. And I'm not suggesting that the MMA community doesn't, but I think this takes him to a new level, a level that he wouldn't get by fighting Josh Emmett or Yair Rodriguez. And I'm really excited. And I think it's a winnable fight for Arnold Allen.
I think it could be a winnable fight for Arnold Allen. I think Arnold Allen in the world scene is very underrated. I think we know how good Arnold is. He can crack really hard. And he's got great footwork. He's got good striking. He's very strong.
Footwork's impressive. It's fast. It's so fast.
Yeah.
You look at what he done like when he stormed across that octagon. His feet were so quick. And then you look at, and it was his footwork that was the reason that Calvin Kattar's fucking knee went. It was his footwork. It was his movement, like the way that he threw and got out of the way. It was like, Arnold Allen, I think, is going to beat Max Holloway.
Look, I think I'm going to pick Arnold to beat Max because I'm a real believer in Arnold Allen, and Max's chin has got to go at some point. And so, I think I'm going to pick Arnold. I'm slightly biased as well. I love Arnold, but the UFC have put themselves in a weird position with this one as well, though, because, like, let's say we're right. Arnold Allen beats Max Holloway. Oh my God, Arnold Allen beat Max Holloway. That's amazing. Surely he's fighting for the belt next. Oh, sorry. No, he can't because...
Yair Rodriguez,
Yair Rodriguez just beat Josh Emmett. Or Josh Emmett's got to fight because he's the interim champ. Oh, no. Because that fight over there that was the co-main event in Perth, people were a bit like, yeah, sure, but whatever. Arnold Allen, 2 months later, has absolutely smashed Max Holloway, which has got the whole world talking about Arnold Allen. But he's not going to fight for the belt. So what does Arnold Allen do? Wait around for a year so that Volk recovers from Islam Makhachev, fights Josh Emmett or something in 6-7 months' time.
Good point.
And then Arnold Allen's got to wait another 6 months or whatever to then fight Volkanovski after that. Like, it's just not. I just don't think it's been good matchmaking. I don't think it's been good. So,
and I don't think it's just us. When that fight, and I think Josh Emmett deserves to be in that interim mix, but he should have been against Arnold Allen. I think that's the fight that is the fair fight that makes the most sense. But
as we said, like Yair's 3-2-1.
Yeah.
Josh Emmett's on a 5-fight win streak, and he's fought some relevant guys like Shane Burgos. I know he's in the PFL now, but it wasn't the UFC released him. UFC loved him, and he went for more money because he was on a final fight of his contract. Even Dana White said we messed up there with Shane Burgos. Dan Ige, always a good fighter. Dan Ige, always doing well. He's always ranked in the top 15 there or thereabouts. Calvin Kattar as well. He had that split decision against Calvin Kattar. Now, a lot of people scored it for Calvin. I think I scored it for Josh. It was a close fight, but Calvin Kattar's a really good fighter, and he had a really close fight with him. Like, Josh deserves to be there. It's Yair that I go, I don't get it.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. And how do you see this fight going?
I think it could be one of those weird types of fights that we see where you've got a guy in Yair Rodriguez landing a lot, throwing some fun stuff, landing a lot. But Josh Emmett just hits him with a couple of huge hooks or something like that. And then the judges have got that really difficult decision to make. What do you think was the most damaging? The accumulation of shots from Yair or the big shots from Josh Emmett? Yeah. And that's where I think we could end up seeing some kind of controversial split decision in this, which maybe if it's controversial. God, imagine if it's a draw. Imagine if it's a draw. And then Arnold Allen goes and beat Max Holloway. And he's like, fuck it. You got to do Arnold Volkanovski now. I'm putting it now. That's what I want. I want a draw between Josh Emmett and Yair Rodriguez.
An absolute
a really exciting draw. An exciting one. You're like, what are you talking about? One of those really exciting draws. And then Arnold Allen goes out and smokes Max Holloway. And then that's it. You've got to do Arnold Allen versus Volkanovski for the featherweight strap.
Absolutely.
That's what I want. Sorry to Josh Emmett. I really love Josh Emmett as well. Yeah. He's like built a little house for his mum, like in the grounds of his own house. Like it seems like the loveliest man.
I don't think.
And I want to see him do well, but I want Arnold Allen to do well more.
Nobody's questioning Josh Emmett's spot in that interim championship. He deserves that. But yeah. Anyway, so we're fast approaching the hour, and I know we've got some other fights. Randy Brown versus, and I know you like to say his name,
Jack Della Maddalena.
I mean, that's a great fight. Randy Brown,
great fight.
He's always exciting to watch, and I think the atmosphere in there is going to be ridiculous. Is it the first time the UFC's beaten the Perth? Normally it's Sydney or Brisbane. I don't know if it's been to Perth before. And so it's going to be raucous in there. Like, you know, the Aussies love their UFC, and it's no secret that they like a shoey. So it's going to be a raucous affair. So I think when you've got people like Maddalena and underneath him, like Justin Taffer and that, all making their way into the octagon, it's going to be party time. I think it's really exciting. I presume there's going to be some Aussie legends cage side. I'll be surprised if we didn't see some of the sort of big names that are not on this card sitting there.
Tuivasa and Mark Hunt just getting on it.
Oh, mate, I don't think we're going to see Mark Hunt anywhere near a UFC octagon.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, that's
which
true.
Is a shame. Which is a shame.
Awkward.
But yeah, we're going to see Ty there with a multitude of different boots and shoes, just putting away some lager. Right.
Well, yeah. I mean, look. Speaking of Tai Tuivasa, his brother-in-law, I believe it is, Tyson Pedro, is on the card fighting a returning Modestas Bukakas, who is Lithuanian-British. He won the Cage Warrior. He was in the UFC, got that horrible injury against Khalil Roundtree, and then went back to Cage Warriors and got 2 wins in Cage Warriors, including the light heavyweight belt, I believe. And then he's now back in the UFC. So I think that could be a fun fight. Tyson Pedro had a 4-year layoff, but has come back to the UFC, has put 2 wins together. And Modestas is back as well. So I have no idea how that fight will go, but I think that'll be interesting. And going back to Jack Della Maddalena and Randy Brown, I'm really excited for that. I'm a big fan of both of these guys. I think Randy Brown's got a really fun, kind of relaxed striking style, whereas Jack has got more kind of really crisp boxing. And I think what will happen is Randy Brown will want to do this at a slower pace, and Jack won't let him. And Jack Della Maddalena will come out with a win because he's going to put so much pressure on him. I think he's just going to push forward, pressure. And his hands are so crisp, man. He's got some really great boxing, and I think he'll do well there. Have you got any fights you particularly want to talk about on the rest of this main card or prelims or anything?
Not especially. Like, obviously, we mentioned Justin Taffer, fighting a great name, Parker Porter. At heavyweight, Jimmy Crute is fighting Alonzo Minifield at light heavyweight. Yeah. I know Crute's got a win over Modestas. Say the second name for me.
Bukakas.
Thank you. I know Jimmy Crute knocked him out in the first round, I believe, a few years back. Tyson Pedro, always exciting to watch. Jamie Malarkey's on the card as well, a bit further down at 155. Yeah, nothing that, to go full circle back to us, what we said at the beginning, it's very top heavy, this card. The top 2 fights are what they're selling it on, and the rest of the card he's not as loaded as what we've been spoiled of recent. And it feels that like this one's a little bit lighter on the big names. I'm not suggesting they're not going to be big fights, but it's not got that huge wow factor. But it's all about the main fight, right? I mean, we're going to see something. We're going to see something good, and I hope we see something that isn't a Makhachev just mauling and it not being very exciting to watch. But he's got his hands full, and like I say, I see Volk winning, and I see Volk stopping him. Don't know how, but it's not going the distance.
And I mention it every week because it still blows my mind. If you haven't listened to it yet, please go and listen to our predictions episode where we predict who's going to be champs by the end of 2023. Stu had a lot to say about the lightweight belt, and it starts with Volkanovski beating Makhachev, and I'm not going to spoil it for you. Please, if you haven't listened to it yet, go and listen to our predictions episode for who's going to be champs at the end of 2023. There's some absolute corkers in there from Stu Whiffen, none more so than what he believes. The journey that the lightweight belt is going to go on this year, according to Stu Whiffen, is something magical. It's like Lord of the Rings-esque. I mean, what the hell is going to happen? So, please go and listen to that. Mine was a lot simpler. The belt is going to stay in Dagestan.
All right.
Well, look, we've done it.
We have, mate, and we should say as well, if you've not checked out, if this is your first time listening, or you've just listened to a couple of episodes of recent, thanks. Welcome to the party. You're late. You've missed a lot of shows so far. You've missed us talking to Alexander Volkanovski, Josh Emmett, Dan Hooker. I mean, they're just some that we've mentioned today. But if you like your Brit fighters, then you can hear us talking to a couple of episodes with Paddy, a couple with Molly, Tom Aspinall, Lerone Murphy. Legends like Dan Hooker, Dan Hardy and Brad Pickett. The third man in the octagon, great chap with Mark Goddard. Michael Bisping, and then we've had some we've been so blessed and so lucky to have had some great chats, and hopefully we're going to have Arnold on in the next couple of weeks leading up to his fight against Max. But we've had a nice long form conversation with Arnold as well. He's already been on a couple of times, so go check out that. And we always say it, but if you see some guests that have been on twice, always go for the first episode first, because that's the one where we have the long form conversation, talking about their journey and talking about their career and their mindset, and really kind of sort of, you know, having a peek behind the curtain of what goes on, you know, in their lives. It's there's a lot to be enjoyed in the back catalogue. So go check that out. And the main thing I would suggest as well is to subscribe, because it's just, you can subscribe or you can follow on Spotify, and them things really help. It kind of helps. It's not that I know anything about algorithms, but it you know, the more followers that we get that subscribe and stuff like that, it really does help. And it means that you haven't got to worry about missing anything. It just pops up on your listening device. And while you're over there subscribing, if you want to leave a comment, that also really helps as well. We're on all the social media platforms. Go give us a follow. We try and keep the content moving daily on there. So, come and get involved. And I need to take a breath, Blake.
You do. Well done, though. That was a nice little end there. You got all the bits and bobs in that you needed to. All that's left to say is bye, guys, and we will catch you next time for post 284 when we talk about what is eventually going to go down this weekend. Oh, it's my wife's birthday this weekend as well, so I'm going to be away, and I'm going to have to try and watch this fight whilst it's like her birthday. So wish me luck, guys.
Very selfish of her.
Wish me luck. I know it's very selfish of her. How dare she be born, you know, just born. How dare she be born?
I look forward to finding out where you watch it. I'm just picturing you like just hiding in a little hotel toilet, just watching it on your phone.
I didn't know. Oh, because she's like, "Are you all right? You've been in that toilet for an hour." Yeah, God.
There's something wrong with dinner.
Oh God, that cheesecake we ate from right through me. Right.
We're back next time. See you soon.
See you later, guys.